Good evening and welcome to the February 11th, 2025 meeting of the Spackenkill Union Free School District Board of Education. The board will immediately take a vote to enter into executive session for the purpose of seeking legal advice for contract negotiations. It is anticipated that the board will resume the public session at approximately 6:30 p.m. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. See you at 6:30 or so. Good evening and welcome back to our February 11th, 2025 meeting, Spackenkill Union Free School District Board of Education. I ask that you rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3.01 is comments from the public on consent agenda items only. Do we have any public comment on consent agenda items? Board discussion or questions?
Nope.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0.
With that passing of the consent agenda, we have someone receiving tenure. Mr. Doherty, would you like to tell us who's receiving tenure?
Sure. Should I do it up there? Or should
Sure.
Oh, okay.
Please.
Well, good evening, everybody. And like Dr. Fanuelli mentioned, Jonathan Hild, who has been a teaching assistant at Todd Middle School for 4 years. Before that, he was also a resident sub at Todd, is receiving tenure tonight. So congratulations, John. Anybody who works in a school knows that teaching assistants are special people. They are one of really the unsung vital heroes of any school district. And John is besides being a wonderful teaching assistant, he's also a great human being. He has always been, he connects with students, he cares about them, he cares about their welfare, which is very important in the position he's in. He is a diligent worker, he works great with the staff, he's somebody who's at the dance on Friday night, which he was, chaperoning, the dance till 8 o'clock at night on a Friday night. And we feel, I know Ms. Needham's here too, but I know that everybody at Todd is really grateful to have John in the building, and also just really proud of you. If you don't know, he also is a Spackenkill graduate. He did have Mr. D'Souza as a teacher, and Miss Spiegel as a teacher. So he's just he is a Spartan through and through, and we couldn't be prouder of you, John. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. Thank you very much.
Congrats.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I love your mannerisms right now.
It's hard not to be nervous,
You just look happy and you just look full of energy, and that's exactly what our kids need, right?
Yeah. I try to match them when I can in the energy.
Awesome.
So yeah. Thank you so much. It's an honor. Happy to be here.
Thank you so much.
Great job.
Jonathan talked about how he helped the kids start dancing at the 6th grade social event.
No one wanted to break the ice. No one wanted to be the first one, so somebody had to.
Well done.
Thank you. You don't have to stay, Jonathan, if you don't want to, but thank you. No one will look at you if you want.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Have a good night. That brings us to item 7.01, a discussion from our school business administrator on the senior tax exemption.
Thank you very much. This is a summary of the presentation that I gave at the last board meeting. Basically, there is a section in the property tax law that allows school districts to give an exemption a partial exemption to homeowners who are 65 and older, whose primary residence is in that school district, and meet the income requirements. New York State has a maximum income requirement level of $50,000 in order to qualify for the partial exemption. Currently, Spack&Kill's maximum income level is $37,399 to qualify for an exemption. Each year, the homeowner has to have resided in their home for at least 12 months prior to that school year, and they will submit an application to the town assessor's office each year to verify their income qualifications. For Dutchess County, these are the maximum exemptions for the districts. Spack&Kill is at currently $29,000 or less would qualify a Spack&Kill resident over 65 for a 50% exemption from their assessed value for taxes. That's on the lower end. This has not been revised since 2006. If you look at the bottom half of that chart, you've seen several school districts over the last 2 years have raised that income level for the 50% exemption to at least $34,000. What we've proposed is to raise the income level for that 50% to the $34,000 and have a graduated scale so that a resident over 65 could earn as much as $42,400 and still get a 5% exemption from their taxes. Currently in Spack&Kill, the population of over 65 is approximately 22% of the Spack&Kill's population. For an idea of what that impact looks currently with our current income levels, for the last school year, 51 residents received the senior tax exemption, which equated to about $124,000 in taxes. At the last meeting, I was asked to see how an increase would impact other districts. So I did speak to Hyde Park, who is very similar with us in that a portion of their school district is in the town of Poughkeepsie. So the first year that they raised their exemption level, their exemptions increased by 21 residents to the tune of an additional $39,000 of tax exemptions. However, in the current school year, it decreased by 12 homeowners, which resulted in a decrease of $14,000. So it fluctuates year to year, which is why residents have to apply every year in order to qualify for the exemption. If the board would like to implement an exemption, at the next meeting, we could have a public hearing, and the board would have to approve a resolution before March 1st for it to take effect for the school year. So what is the board's pleasure?
Anyone have some comments, questions?
I mean, it sounds eminently reasonable to me. I mean, I think we're one of the highest tax districts in the county, and we're on the lower end in terms of these exemptions. So it just is a matter of just logic. It seems like we should make an adjustment along these lines.
Because that's most of the other districts that went to the 34 were at the 29 and went to the 34.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I think that chart showed that was a lot of that happened within the last couple of years.
Last couple of
as I
years.
recall, yeah. little behind the curve, but, so my feeling is trying to catch up.
So with that being said, we can have a public hearing, and at the next board meeting, the board would be asked to vote on a resolution to put these into effect.
Yes.
And that's February 25, is that?
Yes.
Okay. I agree with that,
Okay.
for sure. Okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
But you're not off yet.
No, I'm not.
7.02.
Unfortunately.
Another discussion. This is a budget
This is
discussion.
This is a very high level budget discussion. We start getting into the nitty gritty in the next couple of meetings. With this discussion, we're going to do another review of the current year's budget. We will identify some preliminary revenue assumptions, some preliminary budget expense assumptions, and we'll have a discussion on the proposed vehicle purchases, which will be included as part of this budget. To recap the current year, this year's budget represented a 3.89% over the prior year, and the levy that was needed to support that budget represented an increase of 1.7% over the prior year. The governor issued her proposed budget, which indicated an overall increase in school aid, and Spackman Hill did receive an increase in school aid. I've done some preliminary calculations on the proposed tax levy, and right now that tax levy will be under the tax cap and would probably be in line with the other tax levy increases that we've seen in the past couple of years, with around 1.6, 1.7%. Some of the preliminary assumptions on the expense side. Collective bargaining agreements that are in place have increases already embedded in them, and there are several contracts whose will end June of 2025, so we're putting together estimates of what we think those salary increases would look like. OC services are estimated to increase somewhere between 5 and 8%, and in addition, Spackman-Hill has been increasing the number of OC services that we've been subscribing to over the past couple of years. Special ed tuition historically has risen 5 to 8% year to year. We've been told that the health insurance could see an increase of 6 to 8% this coming year. And as of right now, there will be no increase in debt service because there will be no additional borrowings. Other things that are being considered are possible additions to the instructional and or support staff. The purchase of 3 transportation vehicles. We will be replacing some facilities equipment, some of the smaller equipment that they use in the buildings, the floor scrapers, the snow blowers, those kinds of things, so smaller equipment. Instructional needs, there's definitely an increase in need for textbooks, hardware, software. What's happening now is not only you're buying textbooks, but most textbooks have a software component with them. So you're getting both sides of that to fulfill the instructional requirements. And there will also be some technology upgrades. We need to upgrade the firewall to increase safety. We also need to upgrade the bandwidth. So those are things that we're looking to do in this budget. For transportation, we're proposing the purchase of 3 vehicles, a 7-passenger caravan. We've gotten an estimate from a state contractor for $45,500. We're looking to buy 2 30-passenger buses at just under $100,000 a piece. These are fuel-based buses. We want to get these in our fleet so that we will have a fleet that will hopefully carry us through to 2035 when we have to convert to full EV. So we're just looking to make sure we have a fleet that'll last us for the next 10 years. The vehicles we're going to replace are a 2015 bus, and a 2016 bus. They don't have a lot of miles on them, but they do have repeated maintenance problems with the electrical system that have been repeatedly going wrong, and we've had multiple maintenance people look at them, try to fix them, and we can never correct the problem or efficiently identify the problem. The Caravan that we're looking to replace has over 130,000 miles. It's rusting, it's starting to have some transmission problems, and has already been taken out of service by DOT because it won't pass DOT inspection. So, that one we need.
That's a no-brainer.
That one we need.
Yeah, that one really need. These vehicles will be purchased using funds from the capital reserve. There was a capital reserve for vehicles set up several years ago. There are still funds in that reserve, so we will use that reserve to purchase that, which would require the voters to have, to vote on a separate proposition in addition to the budget. So we're looking to put that proposal on the May 2025 ballot. Going forward, the next board meeting, we'll get into some real budget numbers, identifying the key factors of salary, BOCES, debt service, the retirement systems. On the 11th, we will try to fine tune some of those numbers and present some finance numbers for the tax cap and what we expect the levy to be. On the 25th, Dr. Fannie Welly will present the recommended budget. On April 8th, we will be asking the board to adopt that recommended budget. We will have our required public hearing on May 6th. And we will have our budget vote and the election of one trustee in addition to the proposition for the purchase of the vehicles, all on May 20th. So there will be several presentations. You will get tired of hearing budget over the next 2 months.
It's here.
It's the season. Any questions or comments from the board?
I got one. With the anticipation of the EV vehicles in the future, I know you said that we have CPL doing a study on that side of it, but with us having the a majority of our buses through a transportation company, do we have any idea what kind of increase that's going to be once all those buses have to be converted? Have they given any idea?
They have not given us any idea, but I definitely anticipate it being a substantial increase just because the cost of those buses, they will definitely pass them on.
Right, and they
So.
probably won't get the same rebates that the districts are getting.
That's been kind of a discussion up in Albany of whether the funding that's available to school districts would be extended to the companies who provide bus services for the school districts.
Okay, well, that's hopefully good news.
Is there a way for us to advocate for that, or?
There's always a way to advocate.
It depends on who you talk to. I've talked to people who think that the companies do have access to it, and some might think they don't. So I think they're just trying to figure that out.
There's a lot of discussion about all the different kind of grants that are available and the timing of them and the qualifications for them. So a lot of that's still being ironed out as new grants come up.
So yeah, I guess my concern would be, even if we are able to afford to do the buses, between the, capital reserves that we put aside for the project, the electric buses and the infrastructure and the grants that we may get, is how big of a increase we may still get hit with the transfer from the transportation company, regardless of how much we may put aside and save for it. We're still
They
gonna
do have to be
take that.
competitive because, they're competing against other companies, so we hope that helps
And,
drive the price down, but they all could be high.
Yeah.
we're a little bit better because there are some districts who completely rely on
Yeah.
that transportation, contracted transportation, so, yeah.
We have a nice split, so we're like 15 and 15.
Yeah, no,
pretty
15,
much.
yeah.
15 big that we lease, and then 15 that we own, so it's actually kind of splits the cost a little bit, so it's not all one way, either way. That could be advantageous to us, but I think it's just gonna be expensive on both fronts.
Do you see it getting to a point possibly of, we'd be better off having our entire own fleet than having to, pay that company to do it?
Probably not, because we have to house it,
Yeah,
and that would
we
create
just
a
don't have
whole
the
other.
physical plants. There's also a question of whether or not all of our buses that we have could be housed outside of Todd where they are now. And based on the assessment that CPL did, they said that we can have those buses there, so if we were to get more, we would not have any place to put them and
Right.
install charges for them and everything else.
Seeing some say that they're recommending that they be stored inside for better, lasting on the batteries, something like that, and I can't imagine how somewhere like Wapping is gonna,
Yeah, they don't have
put
to.
100, 200 buses into a garage.
Yeah.
Plus there's like heaters around them.
Amazon warehouse to put all your buses in.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Richard, it looked like you were gonna.
Yeah, I just noticed the other day, in one of the NISBA reports that we got, that the governor responded to some questions at a news conference, I think, about extending the deadline, for the conversion, and she acknowledged that that's definitely a consideration. This is something that's been talked about for a long
It's
time.
been talked
I'm
about.
sure it'll continue to be talked about.
Yeah.
But,
So
I think.
It needs to be extended, and I'm hopeful it'll be extended, but.
That sounded
hasn't-
like,
it
from
hasn't
what I
been,
read, yeah.
You know,
There's legislation being proposed now as well that they allow districts to opt out of it completely if they
Right.
want to choose to. But I think that may be a financial component to it, that if your district just can't afford to do it, then you're able to opt out of it. Not that you just automatically get to decide if you opt out.
There were other factors too, like the geographic factors for large districts where they literally would have to have two buses to take,
in battery.
Yeah.
because
They
they
wouldn't
can't
have enough
use that
battery to
bus
get their
again
back.
in the afternoon, so they would have to double up. So there's a lot of moving parts there. There was a joint budget hearing in Albany on the 29th of January, and they talked a lot about these things as well. And there was growing support for that pause, a study, and potential pilot programs as well. So we're just gonna have to keep our eye on it and try to predict it out. But Jeff's completely right. I mean, if I'm a transportation supplier, the end user is gonna be the one who pays the penalty for having to pay for the extra buses and the infrastructure. So it's gonna get passed on to us, so we have to do our best to try to predict. And if there's any way we can continue to lean on them to start trying to give us some concepts of numbers, that would be helpful as well, I think.
Keep saving.
Is there a point CPL's giving us their study on that, or a presentation on what they found of our infrastructure, all that?
Oh, I can ask them, I can actually have them come in and do a presentation on what they found. I'll ask them that.
Thank you.
I think one of the other things I'd like to see during the budget season is when we start talking about, performance and things like that as well. So we normally have some sort of an update around now, maybe March 11th or so would be nice. That gives you enough time to maybe prepare something that would be helpful, I think, as well. Show the public where we're at.
And
Any
the
other-
one you did last year was great. That
Yeah,
was-
we went through, we could do it again. I think when we went through, we had an internal data meeting and
Yeah.
things were similar. We were talking about maybe if we want to do that every other year, but we can do it again. We could do, it'll look very similar to last year's. So, I mean, we could just change a couple of numbers and run it back. I think the 2-year will give you a better feel of change, because I think we won't see any much difference, at least when we were talking the other day, but we could definitely, put something together.
I'd appreciate it. I know my handbook says every year, so.
Yeah. No, it does say that. I mean, I think we could do a sophisticated one, like that's really robust, because I think it's just gonna be repetitive. but we could just run it back, because it's basically is looking at last year's presentation, just changing a couple numbers, so.
Much appreciated.
Yeah.
Anything else on the budget discussion, board? Okay. That'll push us to 7.03, our elementary administration update. Eric's jumping up.
Come off to the side here a little bit. How about that? All right, good evening, everyone. I'll start off with, we are in our Healthy Heart Spirit Week, led by our health committee. Mrs. Spiegel again is here. She's a part of that committee. And just a couple things that I'll highlight that we're doing this week. We're reading daily heart health facts and the announcements each morning. Mrs. Spiegel has pre-recorded using a Screencastify a read aloud book about Valentine's Day, which has been cool. Today we had our all-school walk, so we had 300 students and all of our staff. We actually walked counterclockwise through each hallway in the gym and the cafeteria for 15 minutes, and it was neat. I mean, it makes you think. I mean, the kids obviously loved it. You know, the amount of kids that said, "Mr. Lynch, can we do this every day?" You know, it was neat to get them up and moving. You know, weather dependent. I hear there may be weather on Thursday, but that's our Wear Red Day.
Everything's fading.
Everything's fading, yeah.
Well, who knows? You never know.
And also our classroom parties. So exciting week this week. As far as academics, you know, we're kind of just passing our midway point. You know, we're on quarters, as you know, but you know, in terms of our data cycles, you know, we think about it as that the midpoint being very significant, because our norm reference data we take diagnostically in the fall, then mid-year, and then at the end. You know, I value this time more than any other time, because you know, the end of the year it's an autopsy, and the kids leave, and you plan for the following year. The beginning of the year is where they are, but not necessarily how they've responded to your instruction. Right now, you kind of get the best of both worlds, so you can kind of you know, look at the data holistically and make some instructional decisions based off of where we're struggling and where we're doing well. Also pinpoint deficiencies and struggles with specific students, which, you know, for an elementary building, we are as data-driven as any building that I've ever heard of, and we're really proud of that in terms of how we group our students and kind of meet them where they're at. So it is, you know, with that being said, and I don't know how familiar the board or the community is with an elementary report card, but it's very different than a middle school or a typical high school, where you kind of get you know, it could be a 4.0 scale, or it could be a percent scale. You know, it's a standards-based report card, and every standard that is taught is assessed. So it's very, very specific where students' deficiencies are. And we get very precise data, and that really helps us plan our instruction. So busy time of year, but I would say as important out of all the work that we do in the school this time of year, I think is the most important. So other than that, couple things upcoming. We have, it's hard to believe as we're talking about snow, but we have our meet and greet coming up at the end of the month. So that's the first opportunity where kindergarten parents will come in, and they'll kind of have a meet and greet, sign their paperwork. That's exciting. And then the Wizards are coming back to town in a couple months here. So as you know, we've been lucky. The same guy always comes to kind of pump us up. He goes by Big J, and we've been getting embarrassed by Big J for a long time. And so you know, we had a 2-hour delay, and Big J postponed on us a couple weeks ago, and we weren't sad about that. But he is coming back on the 26th. I got really lucky last year. Dr. Fanuelli was he was doing his rounds. I don't know if he came over in particular for the pump up Big J thing, but typically the people who sign up for the game, they have you come out and they embarrass you more than the average staff member. And Dr. Fanuelli was there, and then the principal gets embarrassed more than anyone else. And so Dr. Fanuelli happened to be there, and they picked on him more than anyone. So we saw some dance moves.
Let me know how it goes.
So we won't be seeing it.
Big J.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So similar, mid-year point, and iReady diagnostic data chats are happening with teachers, and we're super excited about that at Hagen as well. Valentine's parties are scheduled for, I think some teachers are wishing and hoping for a snow day on Thursday, so there's some parties that were rescheduled to tomorrow. But you know, that's a fun week for us, and it connects to Positivity Project's Love Week, so it's really nice. We did have our spelling bee. This is our third time running our spelling bee at Hagen with me at the helm. We came down between a 5th grader and a 3rd grader. The 3rd grader hung in tough all the way through the words that were not on the study list. But the 5th grader, Ellie Vidaro, did win out. Benediction was her winning word, and she is going to take the regional qualifier this week. So best of luck to her. I've seen the regional qualifier, and even if I tried to help them cheat, they weren't going to pass. That is a very, very hard test. So the kids you see on ESPN certainly earned it. But she did us proud, and certainly best of luck to her. And I'll give the 3rd grader a shout out, Libby Milner. That's pretty impressive stuff for a 3rd grader with the vocab that was being presented, because even I was struggling to pronounce the words. So. And I'm sure Mrs. Prairie knows this because she has a 5th grader. We are not doing the science fair. So we have replaced it, however. So, and Mr. Farrell can speak to, every year the science fair kind of becomes a question of, does it fit within the curriculum? Is the time frame of it really rushed? So right now, if we were in science fair, this would be science fair time. And amongst everything and reviews and diagnostic testing, it is a rough time of the year to kind of squeeze it in. And it does put a lot of burden on the families at home. I'm sure you all remember the science fair projects you did. My mom hated mine. So like it always comes to question. But the reason we always did it was the soft skills that it taught, right? Kids meeting deadlines, doing work that's hard, presenting to strangers. Those things we didn't want to lose. So Jerry Creasy, who's done a lot of presentations on AI, he started this capstone project for 5th graders in Scarsdale. And I started picking his brain at one of the admin seminars with him, and I fell in love with it. I think it's actually a very appropriate project. It doesn't necessarily pigeonhole kids that may not be science brains. And with the new science test being shifted to 5th grade, there is a lot more experiments and a lot more time in the investigations that are required by New York State in the 5th grade level. And that test is pretty tough. So we thought if it's not fitting the curriculum and we can do the same soft skills with something else, now's our opportunity. So we're trying it. And we rolled it out. It requires the kids to do something that they are passionate about. And I think that's the key to hooking them. So we did interest surveys. Teachers have kind of probed them on what are you really going to dig your teeth into in terms of the research and the final product. So we have projects that span all different genres. One kid's doing how have the Yankees dynasty transformed sports, how do ants communicate, how is the Grand Canyon formed, and the list goes on. I mean, and kids are really getting into their questions. So now we're in the phase where we get to elongate the timeline because we're not under the microscope to get it done by March. So it's not due until May, but now we're in the time frame of kind of refining our question to make sure it's very open-ended and it's inquiry-based, which is exactly what they're going to have to do when they're a senior, right? They're going to have to find that piece. It also kind of lends itself to almost doing a community service type thing, which lends itself to the seal of civic readiness. So it fit more to what we are transitioning to. One of the things that I liked about the Blue Ribbon Commission that the state came out with is they are encouraging more capstone projects. So this is kind of a capping, right, of their elementary experience. And the fifth grade team is putting a lot of energy and effort. We're learning as we go, right? It's kind of uncharted territory. Science fair was what we knew, and now this is kind of new. But they are going to do the research phase through February, March, April, and then we're going to have an expo. We're going to call it CapCon. All the fifth graders will have boards. They'll present. Those soft skills of public speaking and being nervous will still be there. And we'll invite the public, we'll invite parents in, and it won't be a judging kind of atmosphere, so that takes a little pressure off, but they will have to present what they found and what they researched and why they researched what they researched, and we're super excited about it. And I think kids are getting into it as they start to refine what they really want to get their teeth into. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. I know it kind of came out of nowhere, but doesn't mean we can't go back, and it certainly doesn't mean kids can't do a science project. And in fact, some kids are doing science-based questions. I mean, the science fair is a question. So they can still pursue that type of energy and do experiments and take pictures and do all that. But this allows the kids to kind of broaden their horizons. So, and I will, as soon as we have CapCon, you'll all be invited, and you can come and check out the projects and see it in its glory. So we're pretty pumped about it. And then I had the Wizards, but Mr. Lynch told us that we're going to get embarrassed by Big J, so that's coming.
Will you be dancing with Big J again?
I'm proud. Yeah, I don't think I have a choice. All right. All right. Thanks.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I got quite a tickle here.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. So
Got you some water.
I guess I'm really upset about the science. Excuse me, sorry. Thank you again.
Yeah.
8.01 is board correspondence. Let's see, we received an email the morning of our last meeting, which I didn't address at the last meeting. It was regarding a staff issue, and it was responded to by email acknowledging receipt by the board. And then our assistant super for curriculum instruction and pupil personnel services also responded with an email. We also got a recurring email that we responded to in the past. We received an email with concern over the recent presidential executive order in which the district clerk has responded to that email. And we also received an email from Gully Stanford, who is seeking nomination for re-election to the Duchess BOCES board. So he'll be seeking our nomination as a board to continue his work. He's been there for about 5 years now, I believe, so we appreciate his commitment to the Duchess BOCES board for sure.
He's looking to schedule a time to come to a meeting, so we're working on that.
Well, we'd welcome him for sure. So. Okay, item 8.02, comments from the public on non-agenda items. Anyone? Okay, 8.03 is comments from the board. None?
Yep, I'll make a brief comment. Thursday of last week was the February meeting of the Dutchess County School Board Association. Fortunately, I wasn't able to make it. I had a conflict that came up, but I followed up with Kelly Lappin and got a little bit of information from her. The guest speaker, and every meeting there's a guest who comes in and speaks on a particular topic, and this week, this month, it was Evan Sullivan from Ostrov Associates, whom some of us have met and know, and he works with the Lower Hudson Education Council, whatever the acronym is. And he talked about the state budget process, gave kind of review of that, and I asked Kelly some questions about, was there any discussion of potential decrease in federal funding, you know, this concern about the education department and so forth. She said there was some discussion, but basically a lot of, nothing much is known yet. But they did talk about, just referring to her email real quickly here, there was a particular discussion about universal school meals, which appear to be dependent on federal funding. And there's some concern that that burden is going to be shifted even more so to the states if federal funding is not forthcoming. for the Universal School Meals Program, so quite a bit of discussion about that. Then I guess they had a brief discussion as well at the meeting about whether it might be the time for some districts, this was, I think, a general member concerns discussion. Some of the members spoke about the perceived need to speak up to support public education because it's being questioned, I think, in a lot of respects from a lot of directions. So there was some talk about strategizing for ways to speak up and defend public education across the district. So happy to get those insights from Kelly Lappin.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I do. I have three. One of them was during the Super Bowl. I saw a commercial saying, "Let's make girls flag football a varsity sport," and I thought that was really cool, especially knowing that we have a varsity or a flag football program going pretty strong here. But I also know bringing in a new sport also pulls away from the sports that we already have. But I wanted to see if that's something that we know of any other state or anybody else in New York doing, locally doing, if it's something that's in the future for it, or.
It's something we're definitely looking at. Marco has said exactly what you said before, you add something, it takes away from others,
Yeah.
other sports. Some are doing it. I do believe Arlington is having one this
Poughkeepsie
year.
has one as well.
And, say it again?
Poughkeepsie has one.
Poughkeepsie has one, and there might be,
Rhinebeck, Saugus.
I was gonna say Rhinebeck, I think they're combined with another school.
Maybe.
So as it's starting to, it's trending up. I think keep building it like we are, and might be inevitable, because it seems to really have momentum, but, that's something Marco will look into to see if it's something that we could field, actually have players and then also have, and not lose another sport.
I know we have seasons in the fall and in the spring, but it seemed like they have two different seasons that you could choose from. I don't know what what Poughkeepsie does or what the local, if they do it in the fall or if they do it in the spring.
Springtime.
They do it in the spring.
Yeah, spring.
So, but yeah.
We were at a
that was-
game in Rhinebeck and for softball, and they were having a flag football game there. It seemed pretty exciting.
Yeah.
The commercial was great, by the way.
Yeah, that was good. Got me. At the last meeting, CPL had said they'd get us an actual price on the field study for the two fields, and more of an exact amount. I just wanted to see if they had come back with what that number was, and he said that it may be possible to look into finding the money to do that in a way that would not affect another budget line item. Just wanted to see if we had an update on that.
Question you're asking is specific to the studying of the land?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the two fields.
Yes. Do you want to talk to that, how we thought, was it next month? When was it when we thought you would feel comfortable
Oh, yes.
releasing the money?
Yes. Definitely releasing the money, I would say the end of next month, because that's when I tend to cut off purchasing for the district, so everybody buys whatever they buy. And whatever, then that way I will know what remaining funds we have, so it'll be a lot easier to find that money, so we can definitely have CPL start that process, probably in April.
Thank you. Did CPL ever get back with the exact number of it?
They have not gotten it.
Okay. And not because I want to, because I attend enough of our board meetings, but I also find myself attending a lot of other school districts' board meetings, work-wise, not because I enjoy going to these things.
Oh, interesting. You're getting paid to go.
Oh, yes, some of them I
Oh.
get paid to go to, so.
Unlike the meetings you come
Yeah,
here.
yeah, here it's all volunteer. But I saw that some districts have a capital improvements committee. Is that something we've ever had before here? I don't know if there's a history of that, where it's, to put the stakeholders that are involved with it and, seeing what projects may be, wanting to do in the future and making a proposal
I don't know
or
if we've ever had
recommendations to.
that. We have had citizens, a very, very knowledgeable, we had a citizens committee come together to do the high school project back in, was that 2008? There was a couple failed votes, and they brought in a citizens committee, which was pretty effective for that specific topic. So ways of looking at it. Where we get that, it could be a specific reason, like, hey, we want to do X, so we want some citizens on it, or I think what you're talking about is maybe just a standing committee. So I know we've used in the past, we've used when there's a specific thought, but I don't think there's been a standing committee.
I think it's been for capital project purposes specifically, but not an ongoing one.
Okay, yeah, I would just, if we have projects that, we know that, we're looking at, we want to redo the auditorium and, AC units and whatever other projects that are on that needs assessment, that maybe it'd be good to have a committee of multiple stakeholders that have interest in each building or in the district, or a parent or a community member or whoever it may be. Just a bunch of minds working on it at once. Something to consider, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I can't speak anymore, so. I was expecting some applause. So 8.04, we'll go to comments from our superintendent.
I'm impressed with your water drinking. You finished that one quickly. Just everyone be aware, we have a few snow delays and a cancellation, so just it's a very sophisticated process. It's not done lightly. We actually work with a weather service. A lot of times we have a 4 p.m., usually 4 a.m. call to kind of look at the weather patterns at that time, talk with other superintendents, and talk with our facilities director, who actually comes in and definitely looks to see how the buildings are. We did, I don't want to say got lucky, but the weather report was so specific last time that we were able to call it the night before. That's rare, but obviously if we can, I know everyone prefers that. So we definitely will look to continue to do that if it's possible. There definitely was a lot of weather reports for this week, but some of them have, at one point, our meeting right now was in jeopardy. But some of that has moved away, but we'll be monitoring all that. And it is President's Weekend coming up, so there is no school on Friday and Monday. So just be aware that I believe offices are open on Friday, but kids will be having recess on those 2 days. So I know a lot of people were hoping for a snow day on Thursday to extend that, but to be continued on that. I'm not sure that's happening anymore. But I appreciate the reports from the elementary, especially hearing about the passion project. What do you call it? Cap time?
Capstone.
Yeah. Whenever you're talking about tapping into a student's passion, it always, or it usually leads to success, right? If they could definitely do a little bit extra because it's something that they're interested in, and you're talking about a Yankee fan, and really to dive into that and still be able to present and do that, that's great. Is anyone looking at the Jets and their lack of success?
That's gonna be my own
capstone
presentation.
project?
Yeah. Why am I a Jet fan? It's gonna be my question.
That's a good inquiry question. Very open-ended.
Thank you. All set.
All right, thank you very much. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 5-0. Thank you. We'll see you on the 25th.